Hi, I'm Louisa Sijabat, a liquidator and bankruptcy trustee. So, as some of you are aware, the government has announced comprehensive changes to the way small business insolvencies are done in Australia, effective from 1 January 2021. So in a series of 3 videos, I'm going to cover who is eligible to use this new system, what are some of the key features, both of the restructuring system and the simplified liquidation system proposed under these small business insolvency law reforms, and what is the effect likely to be on directors of these small companies, as well as the creditors of various types, being unsecured, secured, related, and employees. So, who is eligible to use this new system? It will be, from 1 January 2021, available for small businesses who are incorporated, that is, in a company structure. So that means this is not eligible or this is not open to small businesses who are structured as a sole trader or in a partnership. The small business needs to have debts of less than $1 million. It's yet to be clarified what's included in this $1 million. So, will it include contingent debts? Will it include related party debts? Will it include secured debts? These are questions I'm hoping will be answered by the time the draft laws are released. Also, in order to use this system, small businesses need to have paid all employee entitlements which are due and payable. This will raise an interesting question as to whether a market will open up for funding of employee entitlements so that small businesses can be eligible to use this system. So, what are some of the highlights of the proposed new restructuring system for small businesses? So, this is quite a change because it will be something where the directors of the company will stay in control of the business through this process. At present, somebody like myself, an administrator or liquidator, takes control of the company when it enters into an insolvency process. So that's quite a dramatic change, but I do think there are definitely benefits to a director staying in control of the company. They know the company better, they know how to run it better because they're more familiar with how it runs, and they can probably keep running it at a lower cost. There may be some drawbacks to a director staying in control. For example, if they have so severely mismanaged the affairs of the company that creditors think they shouldn't be in control, but creditors will be then able to express that through the process and obviously voting against the director's proposal. So let's talk a little bit more about how this is proposed to work mechanically. When a small business considers they may need some restructuring help, as in they're getting stuck in being able to pay all of their debts when they need to pay them, then they might go speak to a small business restructuring practitioner about what can be done. So a small business restructuring practitioner, say someone like myself, will be able to look at the business and advise as to whether this new system is appropriate for that business. Assuming it is appropriate, the board of the company, so its directors, would then pass a resolution to appoint that small business restructuring practitioner to assist them in going through this process. So, the directors of the company and the small business restructuring practitioner have 20 business days to come up with a proposal to put to the creditors of that company. The creditors of that company are notified of the appointment of a small business restructuring practitioner to the company when it occurs. So, when the process commences, certain protections and moratoriums come into place. These are a little bit similar to the protections and moratoriums that presently happen if a company enters voluntary administration. For example, the government has said that some of these may include that directors can't be pursued for personal guarantees while this process is ongoing, and neither can their relatives, and that sometimes contracts that companies enter into have this clause that terminates them automatically on the insolvency of the company. And it is proposed by the government so far that those clauses be ineffective, a little bit similarly to what happens in a voluntary administration. So the plan is developed, the restructuring plan is developed by the company, so its management, its directors, together with the small business restructuring practitioner across 20 business days. Creditors are then provided with information in relation to this plan, and the small business restructuring practitioner is meant to certify to creditors that the company can make the payments that it proposes, which is going to be interesting to see how that works in practice. But hopefully when the law is released, we'll know a little bit more about to what extent that certification needs to be certain, I suppose. So before all creditors can vote, the employee entitlements that are due and payable, so the outstanding ones, need to be paid. Creditors then have 15 business days to vote on the proposal, so that's about 3 weeks. To be approved, 50% of creditors in value need to approve the plan. So if creditors don't like the plan that they see, they can vote against it. If they like what they see, and perhaps if it proposes a better return to them than the liquidation of the company, maybe they will vote for it, even if it's not for the full amount of their debt. We'll have to see how that plays out and what creditors think of the types of plans being put to them. Related parties are not entitled to vote. Just back with the voting there as well, it's yet to be defined how, that 50% threshold is yet to be defined. Is it 50% of all creditors of the company, or just 50% of those creditors who choose to return a vote? So if the plan is approved, the business continues, and the business then needs to make the payments it proposes to the small business restructuring practitioner, who will then pass the agreed portion on to the creditors. The small business restructuring practitioner is said to be provided with powers to prevent abuse of the process. So, for example, the government has said that if, for example, the small business restructuring practitioner sees illegal phoenixing, that is, the illegal transfer of the assets to a new company, leaving all the debt in the old company, and then getting rid of the old company's shell, that's illegal and not good for our economy either when that happens. So if the small business restructuring practitioner sees things like that, that they will have the power to stop this process and put the company into liquidation or something along those lines, where that sort of misbehavior or misconduct gets addressed. There's also meant to be more appropriate use of technology, which is great, through this whole process. So what happens if creditors don't approve the restructuring plan? In that case, the company can either use the traditional voluntary administration process that works if they still want to put a restructure to creditors, or they may choose to use the simplified liquidation process, which I'll cover in one of my next videos. So the summary for the key facts about the restructuring process is that we know a little bit about it. There look like there could be some benefits. There are some questions that still need to be addressed, and they are still important questions. So we're waiting for the draft laws to be released so we can all know a little bit more. So definitely watch this space.